What is happening on you guys? Sports Runs and Diesels back at you here as week 15 of the NFL season is now complete here. And we got a lot to get down to. I'm going to be brief on every single game that happened during this past week. Let's get down to business here. Chargers beat the Raiders 30-27 here. Justin Herbert goes off again for over 300 yards passing. He now owns the NFL single-season record, the NFL single-season rookie record with 7 games of 300 or more passing yards. The kid's been phenomenal. He's probably going to be NFL Rookie of the Year, and he continues to put up monster numbers. He's also tied with Baker Mayfield for the most passing touchdowns in a rookie season, the NFL rookie record as well. And we all obviously assume he will break those records. So kudos to him and what he's been doing this season, and he's going to continue this success for years to come. Congratulations to the Buffalo Bills as they beat the Denver Broncos here 48-19. And a heartfelt congratulations for them winning their first AFC East title since 1995. It's been 25 years, a long time coming since they have finally won this division, and now they have clinched it. They have a couple of big games coming up. They play at New England, and then they play Miami in the last game of the regular season at home. And they got some big games coming up, but they have clinched the AFC East division. And I do not see this team lose. This team could go deeper in the playoffs than you think. But I know everyone's trying to go for that elusive number 1 overall seed. But let's be real. Kansas City's got that wrapped up in the AFC East. Right now, they're 13-1. We'll get to them later. And we'll get to all the standings and the playoff picture later. Packers over the Panthers. Panthers had a great hard-nosed second-half comeback here. Unfortunately, it falls short. They had a chance at the end. Couldn't get anything going on the last drive. Packers win 24-16 after being up 21-3 at halftime. But Packers win. They prevailed. They stay as the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. Moving on. Colts, Texans. Colts beat the Texans here 27-20, a big-time win by the Colts as they keep neck and neck with the Tennessee Titans here, not only in the division, but in the playoff picture as well, because if the Colts own the tiebreaker, the Colts will have that ultimate 4 seed, whereas the Tennessee Titans will be this, it just kind of flips around. But as of right now, Tennessee owns the tiebreaker, and they don't play each other for the rest of the season. So, but Indiana has got a big game coming up this week. They play the Pittsburgh Steelers here in Week 16. Next game, the Tennessee, speaking of wins, the Jets, congratulations to the New York Jets who finally get a win over the Los Angeles Rams, 23-20. And the Rams were favored by at least a touchdown in this ball game. But I give credit to the Jets. The Jets hung in there, and they played a hard-nosed fought game, and they beat the Rams. Out of all teams, they beat the Los Angeles Rams, who's a playoff team in the NFC. And they beat them 23-20 here, and congratulations to them. There will be no winless teams in the 2021 NFL season. Thank God. 2020 NFL season. Titans completely run right over the Detroit Lions here, 46-25 here. Derrick Henry, 24 carries, 147 yards, and another touchdown. The guy has rushed for over 1,600 yards in the season here. A candidate to be MVP, a candidate to be NFL Offensive Player of the Year, the way he's been playing, the way he's been running the football. There's no defense. It just wears and boggles down on these defenses. You may have them under wraps the first 3 quarters, but when it comes to the fourth quarter, it's like Dame time in the fourth quarter. You cannot slow this guy down. He just gets stronger and stronger, and it wears down on defenses, and that's why he's putting up monster numbers every week. Bucs have a comeback win over the Falcons here, 31-27. To be honest, I was surprised Tampa Bay won this football game. It looked like they were going to lose this football game. They were down by 17 points at one point in this ball game. They come back and win 31-27, thanks to Tom Brady and the new connection with Antonio Brown. Ravens, who absolutely smoked the Jacksonville Jaguars, 40-14 here. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens here have won their last 3 straight games after losing 4 of their previous 5. They're still, believe it or not, this team is 9-5, and they're still outside the playoff picture right now, thanks to the Miami Dolphins, who I will get to in just a quick second here, as they beat the Patriots. But the Baltimore Ravens' next game is up against the New York Giants. Obviously, we know that the New York Giants and Joe Judge's football team, their hard-nosed football team, they play for a complete 60-minute ball game. They fight for 60 minutes. And as much as I want to say Baltimore's going to run over this team, you never know. The New York Giants have proven us wrong before, and you just never know what can happen. But I assume Baltimore's going to win this game because there's a lot of playoff implications in every game that they play. They must win out, and they need help from the Miami Dolphins and company to lose, so then they have a chance to make the playoffs. Now we can get to the Miami Dolphins here, who run right through the New England Patriots, 22-12 in this ballgame. Tua looked good. He rushed for 2 touchdowns on 3 carries. The Dolphins rushed for over 200 yards on the ground in this football game. The Patriots will miss the playoffs for the first time since 2008. It's kind of weird. I know a lot of people saying this. It's kind of weird to see the Patriots not be in the playoff picture. It's been a very long time coming since this has happened. The last time they missed the playoffs was when Matt Castle was the quarterback, and they went, 11-5, 10-6 in the regular season, and they didn't make the playoffs. So it's been a long time coming. Unfortunately, the Patriots will not be in the playoffs this year, but we're moving on. Bears beat the Vikings in a crucial NFC North matchup here, 33-27 here. Now the Bears jump over, and now they're that one team on the outside looking in here as we inch closer and closer to the playoff picture here. They are now 7-7, and the Vikings drop down to 6-8 here. A big-time win for the Chicago Bears. Since they put Mitchell Trubisky back, they have scored over 30 points 3 straight times. The last time they did that, I think it was like 2013 or something like that. So they're going to hold on to Mitchell Trubisky at the quarterback here. And the play calling's been a lot better since in the last 3 ball games. That's why they're putting up a lot more points. You see it there. Cleveland beats the Giants here 20-6. This is the first time that they've had a 10-plus win season since 2007. Cleveland is in the mix here. They need a little help from Pittsburgh to win the AFC North Division. But Pittsburgh's on the tail end. We'll get to Pittsburgh in just a second, as there was a crucial upset on Monday Night Football. Seahawks sneak by the Washington football team here 20-15. I know Russell Wilson and company haven't looked their best since the first 8-9 weeks of the season, where Russell Wilson was looking like an MVP candidate. To me, I don't know how this guy hasn't gotten an MVP vote in his NFL career. You guys have heard me talk about this before. We're moving on because they sneak by. They win 20-15, and now they lead that division thanks to the Rams losing. Thanks to the Rams losing to the Jets, they lead that division at a 10-4 record. Cardinals beat the Eagles. Now, let's not get this game twisted here. 33-26 is the score. Jalen Hurts seems to be the starting quarterback for this team as they move forward. And Carson Wentz has said, hey, if this continues, I'm going to want out, and I'm going to want to go somewhere else where I know I'm going to be needed as a starting quarterback. Guess what? No NFL team is going to want to pick up the $100 million contract that you signed with Philadelphia. No one's going to want to pick that up unless they're desperate for a quarterback. That's been the whole issue with Carson Wentz since he's been benched, is if he goes to another team, will that team pick up the $100 million contract? And no one's going to want to do that. So Carson Wentz is going to have to sit where he's at right now, at least to the end of this season. And believe it or not, they're still in the playoff race. They're not out of the playoff race yet in that NFC East division. But we'll get to that in just a second. Chiefs. One of the most highly anticipated games here, the Chiefs versus the Saints here. Chiefs go in and beat the Saints 32-29. 11 straight road wins, which right now is the longest active streak in the NFL. 11 straight road wins for the Kansas City Chiefs here. And it's just too much Kelsey, too much Tyreek Hill, and we're forgetting about Sammy Watkins, Hardman, and their special teams is starting to make some plays here. If they have special teams that makes all these plays, like Hardman had that punt return last week for a touchdown. It's like their special teams. If they go off, that gives their offense more rest. That offensive line gets more rest. But the biggest thing with the Chiefs right now is their starting running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, goes down with a high ankle sprain and is going to be out multiple weeks, including multiple weeks in the playoffs. Luckily, they have, right now, they're a shoo-in for the week 1 bye. I don't see them losing out the rest of they play at Atlanta, and then they play a divisional game and week 17 against the Los Angeles Chargers. So I don't see the Chiefs losing at all at any point in time, soon. Cowboys beat the 49ers 41-33, a good win for the Cowboys, who, believe it or not, are still in the playoff picture on the outside looking in because of the NFC East division and how terrible it is. With that being said, we are moving on to the Bengals and beating the Pittsburgh Steelers here 27-17. And the story is, were the Bengals motivated by Juju Smith-Schuster dancing on their logo in the pregame? Probably. There's probably some added motivation to that. But let's be real here, though. Cincinnati came in and they fought very hard. They fought a good 60-minute ball game here, and they beat Pittsburgh here by double digits. Pittsburgh hasn't scored more than 20 points in the last 3 or 4 ball games, and now their offense is looking dismal all of a sudden. Ever since James Conner went out, even though James Conner was somewhat has been back and has been limited and getting reps and then has been getting time on the field, they're still not the same offense that they were weeks ago. And they got to get ball to their play. They got to get the ball in the hands of their playmakers, which is James Conner, the running back. You got Juju Smith-Schuster, who's their star wide receiver. And you have Claypool. You can't forget Claypool, James Washington. You got to get the ball in these guys' hands so they can make plays down the field. And you got to get the ball to your playmakers. And that's what Pittsburgh's not doing right now, and that's why you're seeing them on this 3-game skid. And Pittsburgh doesn't have an easy road afterwards. Their next 2 games, they play home against Indianapolis, and they play at Cleveland in Week 17. And that's going to be a big game because now that we're getting to the playoff picture here, I'm going to start talking about now. We go to the AFC here. We obviously, Kansas City's at the 1 spot, 13-1. Buffalo, Pittsburgh are tied at 11-3. Buffalo's the 2, Pitt's the 3. 4 seed, Tennessee, 10-4. Cleveland, 10-4 is the 5 seed. 6 seed is Indianapolis at 10-4. Miami is the last seed at 9-5. And then obviously we got Baltimore on the outside looking in at 9-5. And then we have, they're not out of the playoff picture yet, but the Las Vegas Raiders at 7-7. They're still in the playoff picture on the outside looking in the hunt to try and sneak in and steal the playoff spot. But if Miami wins this week, then they haven't clinched the playoff spot yet because of Baltimore, because it looks like Baltimore is going to win out with their next game against the Giants. So we'll see how it plays out. Moving over to the NFC, we got the Green Bay Packers at 11-3 at the number 1 overall seed. Seattle wins. Now they're in the division lead for the NFC West here at 10-4. The division leader in the NFC South, the New Orleans Saints, at 10-4 as well, as they're coming off a loss to the Kansas City Chiefs here. Washington is the divisional leader in the NFC East at 6-8, but there's a couple teams right behind them at 5-9, and we can't forget Philly. Philly's 4-9-1, and they're right behind them too. So it's like, it's still up for grabs. You just never know. If Washington loses its last 2 games and the Giants win their last 2 games, the Giants win the division, they're in the playoffs. And they get a home game because they won the division. A guaranteed first round home game. So, with that being said, it's not over yet in the NFC East. That's why there's so many teams still in the hunt in the NFC because of that division. Then you got the Rams at 9-5, unfortunately coming off their disappointing loss to the New York Jets. You got Tampa Bay at 9-5, coming off their comeback win against the Falcons. And at the 7th seed, the last seed, Arizona at 8-6. And then there's all those other teams, the NFC East teams that are fighting really for the divisional, that 4 seed, that divisional spot, that number 4 seed. But other than that, there's other teams that are on the outside looking in, and I could go into detail about those teams, but really, I don't think any of these teams in the NFC are they'll move around between each other, but I don't think any team's going to come from in the hunt and make it into those playoffs. like the AFC with Baltimore on the outside looking in. Thank you guys again so much for your time. I know this is a 15+ minute video. Again, I'm trying to keep it short and sweet, but I went over every game this week. But I had to go over every game this week. Even though good teams were playing against bad teams, I had to go over every game because the way the standings are going and the way the playoff picture's looking, you got to go over every game here. And I'm going over as briefly and as fast as possible as I can. You guys know me very well. But thanks again so much for your time. Stay tuned. We had the first couple opening nights here of the NBA season here that just started. Celtics with a major win over the Milwaukee Bucks last night, thanks to a last-second 3-ball by Jason Tatum. And a little help from Giannis missing a game-tying free throw at the end of regulation. But I will get to all that very, very soon. Thank you guys again so much for your time. If you haven't left a like already, please leave. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks again. I'll see you guys on the next one. Deuces.